This week I'm sailing into one of the most important conservation sites on the planet. It's the largest natural harbour in the world, home to some truly unique ecosystems. It's the perfect place for a wildlife photographer. My journey begins in Poole Harbour. The estuary supports a wide variety of rare species, including avocet, Mediterranean gull, and a colony of red squirrels. It's time to take to the water to travel to Brownsea Island. It's on this journey that I have my first truly spectacular sighting, an entire flock of spoonbills. There's certainly plenty of bird life to be seen, so I can't wait to get on the island and start the adventure. So I've just arrived here to Brownsea Island. This is currently one of their nature trails, and I am on my way to the hide to see exactly what kind of wildlife we can come to expect on this unique habitat. The island has quite a few of these tidal reed beds, and they're the perfect place for wading species like avocet and egret. So I'm going to start by visiting the avocet hide to see what species I can see. Despite it being a really windy day, there were plenty of bird species around. And I got another glimpse of that spoonbill colony that I'd seen on the way in. I continued to walk along the nature trail, and I began to look up into the trees to see if I could see a squirrel. There's plenty of bird life on this island. I asked one of the volunteers exactly where the best place might be where I could see some squirrels on the island, and the lady recommended that I come up to this woods, which is just in front of the church, behind the church, which is just over my shoulder here. And then there's a few different log areas where you'd sit up and wait for the squirrels to come. However, everybody I've spoken to hasn't seen them. I spoke to another volunteer who said that the squirrels come down early in the morning and then disappear for the day. So at the minute I'm a bit confused as to where they might be, but I'm going to keep looking and see if I can find myself a red squirrel in England on Brownsea Island. It wasn't long until the rest of the guys arrived and we were able to work together to try and find some squirrels. Using the thermal scope, we did manage to pick up some movement off in the distance. It was impossible to see without the thermal, and it was really difficult to make out what it was, but we figured we'd take a chance. So we moved over to the area nearer to where it was and sat down. And this went on for quite some time. Eventually, we got a glimpse of our first squirrel. To your left, to your left, to your left. Up this tree here. I managed to get a few photos, but because of how dark it was, they aren't the cleanest ones I've ever taken, but I'm still quite happy with them. I was quite surprised that we only saw the one squirrel on the island. From what I'd read and heard, this place was absolutely full of them, though in reality it seems like the colony is much more secretive than what I'm used to. So one thing I have been using today, I've borrowed from Cookie the Pulsar XG35. I don't know anything about it other than it's got an image stabilizer and it's a thermal, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I've never used a monocular before, I've always used binoculars, and I find with binoculars, because of my tremors, it's really hard to hold them steady and get a clear picture. If you were to imagine shooting at like 1,000 millimeters, it moves like this. Well, that's what it's like for me to use binoculars. They're just constantly moving. It's very hard to keep an eye on something and lock in. And I find I have to like brace myself against something or really push force the binoculars into my eyes to hold them steady, and it's not comfortable. This, on the other hand, this is image stabilized, and I fell in love with it straight away. I literally lifted it up. I'm able to really get a secure grip on it like this, and because of that image stabilizer, it's just a pleasure to use. Like I felt for the very first time like everybody else. Like I finally get why people use scopes, binoculars. I've never had a great experience with them, but I just want to say, like, this is an incredible product. Like it's a great product. I did a little bit of filming with it. The very way that I found the red squirrel in the first place was I managed to spot a little fuzzy lump in the tree on thermal, and I think I got some footage with it. I don't know, I'll find out later when I give it back to Cookie and he tells me if I pushed record or not. But I've been really impressed with this, and so if you are looking at thermal, I'd say that this one is really cool to look at. I wasn't really into thermal before. I don't think I would have looked at thermal. I feel like sometimes it's a bit like cheating, but this has changed my mind. I think I'm gonna look to invest and potentially see if I can get myself one of these. On the boardwalk on the way back to the boat, I spotted Richard. Richard is officially the king of finding lizards on a boardwalk.
I try. It's not the best gift in the world, but it's a gift. As I came down, I spotted a couple on the log, which was really great, clearly still basking in the sun, which is fantastic. But then the more you look, the more you start to find them all. They are absolutely everywhere. So the things I would suggest looking out for is places where they're naturally going to warm up. So things like logs are going to be nice and warm for the lizards compared to sort of leafier plants and things. Big rocks, anywhere that they can bask and feel safe and then scurry away if they need to. But it's been everywhere. Literally down the side of these boardwalks, we've managed to see plenty. Again, somewhere that they're going to feel safe and that they can run into these crevices. Been really interesting to see the different life stages as well. The colorations is fantastic. There's one really unique one that we've seen down here, which I'm sure Drew's going to talk about, which has got this fantastic green coloration. But I will hand you back over to Drew and he can tell you more about that.
So I actually spotted on the log that Rich pointed out where they were all basking, a little bit later on, one of these lizards came up and it was like a really bright green, and I thought sand lizard, because that would have just been the icing on the cake for this trip down here, because that is the whole reason I came down in the first place. I wanted to see a sand lizard, spent all day yesterday trying to find them, couldn't see them, and I got very excited. But actually it turns out that these common lizards, the males sometimes can pick up this green coloration, and that leads to them often being confused with sand lizards. So I fell for it. I fell for the misconception, but I did learn something, and the way that you can tell the difference is the pattern is completely different on the sand lizard. And I was lucky enough to have another male close by this other green one, and I was able to match the two patterns and work out that they're very similar looking. This is probably not a sand lizard. Googled it, not a sand lizard. So the more you know, the better you are. So this was the lizard in question. It's a vibrant green colour, and if it wasn't for the common lizard next to it, I would have really struggled. When you compare it with a common, which I'll show in the next photo, you can see how the patterning matches. Finding this out and going through the whole process of trying to work out what species this was really interesting. Brownsea was a difficult one for me because in my head I'd planned out for an encounter similar to that in Yorkshire, but it just wasn't to be. This was the only squirrel we saw. Looking to the next day, I had another trip planned. So today I'm down at Poole Quay and I'm excited because I'm going to be going on a boat trip that's going to take me out into the harbour and then again into some of the reed beds where I might be able to see some of the more elusive species you can find around Poole.
Positive, and so I think having these birds back in the landscape has a real potential to kind of spark this stuff and to get more nature recovery happening.
I found this trip fascinating. There was so much information being given to you by all the different guides, and it was all information focused around conservation and the history of the harbour. There were plenty of birds to keep you occupied with your camera, and the boat itself was a fantastic platform to work from. It's super stable and really smooth.
Three of our females from our Poole Harbour reintroduction are all now nesting up in Wales now.
My name's Sam, I work for Birds of Poole Harbour, a registered charity in the area, and I'm the engagement officer for the charity, so run all sorts of our events, education work, and I'm also part of the team that goes up tree climbing for the osprey nests as well, so we put the artificial osprey nests to try and get more pairs breeding from our reintroduction project. So we do a huge amount of work, we're a really tiny team, but try to do as much as we can to restore nature, to educate, to engage with people. So a big part of what we do and what you've just experienced is one of our osprey cruises. So each year we're now doing about 150 boat trips where we're taking members of the public out on trips to try and see things like ospreys and white-tailed eagles, which are fantastic birds of prey that have been reintroduced to the south coast. Some of my favourite things we do as a charity and that I'm heavily involved in is our school bird boat project. So each winter we take out 1,200 school kids completely free of charge. It's very kindly sponsored by a local cosmetic company, Lush, and yeah, we take them on boat trips exactly like this, and lots of them have never been on a boat before, never seen a cormorant or a white-tailed eagle, and yeah, we show them those birds for the first time, and that is just amazing to be giving that many young people a fantastic wildlife experience. It's been an important area for a long time. There's a huge number of conservation bodies that are really interested in this area. It's really lucky to have had strong protections for a long time. What I certainly really like about it, coming into the world of conservation as a career, is there's so many forward-thinking nature recovery projects. I think for a long time conservation has been sort of maintaining what we've got, protecting those last few areas. What we're seeing here is a huge number of exciting projects. So there's reintroduction of species like white-tailed eagles and ospreys here in Poole Harbour, white-tailed eagles not too far away. We've got landscape scale nature recovery projects, rewilding projects. There's a huge number of great work by ourselves at Birds of Poole Harbour, but lots of other of the fantastic local organisations, the councils and the tenant farmers that are coming together to restore nature. It's a real momentum that will hopefully build to bringing back nature all across the south coast. So yeah, a very exciting time. We've got a website online, birdsofpooleharbour.co.uk. We're on most social media platforms as well, so you can find out what we do. And everything's on the website. We've got information, we've got a daily sightings page of everything here in Poole Harbour. We've got all of our events, including our boat trips. We do nest tours up to the nesting pair of ospreys. We do nightjar walks, ID courses. We love to do free events as well, not just for young people, but we're doing pop-up watches, which are completely free of charge. So there's loads of stuff to get involved with. And yeah, we're doing so much all year round, not just the summer, autumn and winter, any time of year, there's great stuff to see. So yeah, there's a few ways to get in touch with us there.
I think for me personally, this was the highlight of the trip. I got a real mixture of birds in flight and some really cool compositions with the birds at water level. And for me, it was something totally different to what I do normally. That being said, I didn't get the encounter I was hoping for with a white-tailed eagle, but I did see plenty of species throughout the trip, and there was tons of opportunities for great photos. I was lucky enough, however, to get an encounter with the osprey. Though very far away from the boat, I still managed to get a couple of record shots just to document that moment. If you've enjoyed this video, please drop a subscribe as it helps to keep the channel going. And if you've made it this far, I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching all the way through.